So let's remind you of the state of play as the Premier League returns then. At the top of the table, the title race between Manchester City and Liverpool is so close. Pep Guardiola's team are currently just 1 point ahead of Jurgen Klopp's side, with both teams having 9 games left to play. Behind them, Chelsea look secure in third, with Arsenal 3 points clear of Tottenham with a game in hand as they look to take the final Champions League qualification spot. And it is all pretty tight at the foot of the table too. Norwich are bottom on 17 points, but above them, Burnley, Watford, Everton and Leeds are all fighting for survival, with the varying number of games played meaning no one is safe yet. Burnley have it all to do with just 21 points, but they've 3 games in hand on Leeds in 16th, as do Everton, who have also played just 27 matches. And it is a big game at the top and bottom of the league that kicks off the weekend's fixtures as Liverpool host Watford on Saturday. There are then 5 mid-afternoon matches, the pick of which sees Manchester City go to Burnley. Manchester United against Leicester is the late game before 2 matches follow on Sunday. West Ham against Everton and Tottenham versus Newcastle. The match week finishes on Monday with what could be a great game under the lights at Selhurst Park as Patrick Vieira's Crystal Palace take on Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. And joining me to preview all those matches as the Premier League action returns in the studio today, we've got Wes Morgan, Leanne Sanderson and Flo Lloyd-Hughes joining us for the first time. And you as well, Wes. Welcome along. Good to have you all here with us. Look, we all love the international break. Gives us all a bit of time off, but it's always really nice when the Premier League football returns as well, Wes. And it is all to play for, particularly at the top of the table. As someone that's been involved in a title race, how far do you think this is going to go? Right down to the end?
Yeah, well, I've missed the football first and foremost. You know, obviously it's great to have the international games, but you know, I think we're all excited to see the Premier League action coming back and some great games to look forward to. Liverpool-Watford. You know, if Liverpool win that one, they could get to the top of the table for a brief spell until obviously Man City play against Burnley and see what happens there. So there's a lot to play for.
So much to play for, especially as well at the bottom of the table, Leanne. How far can you see that race going?
For me, you know, I've said it many, many times, and my 3 haven't really changed. You know, Norwich, Burnley and Watford. I think those will be the 3 that go down. But I think the top of the table, I mean, I made an epic fail the other week because I said that Tottenham would get beat by Man City at the Etihad and then Tottenham beat them. And I feel like that made the title race go back open because I said that Man City had this signed, sealed and delivered. The race was over. But it's definitely going to go down to the wire. But for me, the 3 at the bottom, I think there's other teams like Everton, you know, Leeds that are in and around it. But I just think the other 3 are just worse off. Yeah. And Leeds and Everton are kind of fortunate that the other 3 are worse off.
Yeah, Flo, have you remembered in recent time a season where it's got this late on and there's still so much to play for at the top, the bottom and in the middle bit as well for all of the European spots?
Yeah, not really. I feel like last season and probably in January, the main conversation was who's going to get 4th. And that's the only really interesting thing for people to focus on. And then, yeah, like Leanne said, that game where Tottenham beat City really changed everything at the top of the table. And Everton struggling, Leeds struggling has kept things interesting at the bottom. Also, a lot of those postponed games has kept things interesting at the bottom because there's teams who have a lot of football to catch up on. So it's actually been a good one for storylines and narratives. It's not sewn up yet. There's still a lot to be decided.
A lot for you to write about at the moment,
exactly.
isn't there?
It keeps us busy.
It does. All right, well, there is so much for us to look ahead to. We're going to be looking forward to the Monday night match between Crystal Palace and Arsenal as Mikel Arteta's team try to cement their place in the top 4. Ralph Rangnick's Manchester United will be desperate for Champions League football next season. We'll preview Saturday's late kick-off as Leicester travel to Old Trafford. And we'll also focus on the league leaders as Manchester City head to Burnley with their lead over Liverpool down to just 1 point at the top of the table now. Pep Guardiola, though, is feeling positive.
Not the first time we are here. We have been before. And I prefer to play 8 games in April than play 4. That means we are there. It's a dream to be here. We'll try to do the dream come true.
More on Manchester City's match with Burnley coming up in a moment. But we start with the first match of the weekend, which is Liverpool taking on Watford. As Wes pointed out a moment ago, if Liverpool win this game, they'll be at the top of the table before Manchester City kick off at Turf Moor. Let's hear from both managers.
It's a very good example, actually, for how important it is to be top of the league at 2:30 on a Saturday evening when all the rest is playing after that. It's not too important. So it's nothing to do. We were most of the time in a situation that City played beforehand, so before us, and this time we play. But I couldn't care less about what is after that. It's just about how well are we prepared for the 12:30 situation, because we face Watford. Watford won the last game. Watford smells the chance to stay in the league. They will go with everything. Obviously, a very experienced manager. The way they set up is very well organized. They are well drilled. Meanwhile, I don't know why Roy did it, to be honest. But he is still on fire. Yeah, he does a good day, but he's still on fire. So he's still on fire, and he still organized the team really well. And he doesn't get carried away from nothing anymore. So he's super, super experienced.
With trepidation, I suppose, is the answer, how you look at the game, because they're good. And they're at the top of the table, and we're at the bottom. And the tables don't lie. You know, the teams at the bottom are there because up to now they've not been able to do well enough to get to the top, and the ones at the top are obviously good because that's where they are. So every time you play a team like Liverpool away from home, you know that, you know, today the odds are stacked against us, and that doesn't matter whether you're just below them in the table or whether you're a long way below them in the table. There's no secret to how.
Ooh, we seem to have lost Roy at the end there, but I think you got the hint of what he was suggesting there. It's a massive game for both Liverpool and Watford at the top and the bottom of the table. We'll focus, first of all, on things at the top of the table, because that's, I think, where it's most exciting right now as we head into the Premier League fixtures for the weekend, Wes. As you mentioned, Liverpool can go top if they win or if they draw because of their better goal difference than Manchester City, ahead of them kicking off at 3 o'clock. Psychologically, how much of a boost and a relief will that be to Liverpool after chasing City for so long?
Yeah, they've done amazing to get in contention. You know, I heard Klopp trying to play it down a little bit, you know, saying there's no advantage to having that kick-off early and having that game underway first. But, you know, if they win that game, I think definitely the pressure's on Man City to react. And, yeah, he'll be going into that game, wants to get, you know, all the points. And I don't think it'll be easy. You know, Watford down at the bottom, every point is precious at the moment for them to try and get some points and try and climb a bit out of the trouble they're in. But it's a difficult ask for Watford, and I think Liverpool, you know, will go into the game full of confidence, knowing they've got a job to do, and that's what they need to do.
These matches can sometimes be seen as a bit of a banana skin, can't they, Leanne, for the teams at the top of the table, because they're up against a side who are fighting for survival, so there's so much for them to play for. But when Liverpool have won 9 Premier League matches in a row, can you see it going any other way?
No, I can't. And I think both teams, you know, City and Liverpool, are both playing against 2 teams that are in a relegation battle. But I think teams like Liverpool, they just seem to always get it done. I think that's the difference between, you know, other teams like Manchester United and West Ham. Liverpool, Chelsea and City, they do seem to get it done. In the league now, it's so competitive, isn't it, where you drop a few points and you're out of the title race. They lost 1 game. And, you know, it brings Liverpool back into the title race. So it's so... But I do think, you know, going back to your original question to Wes, that it must be a little bit of an advantage playing earlier, knowing that you've done what you can. You know, it must psychologically. But, you know, Pep, I'm sure that won't play on his mind because he sets his team up in the way that he knows how to, and they'll get the job done. But I can't see this one going any other way other than Liverpool.
Yeah, it's a confident Liverpool at the moment, Flo, with those 9 wins in a row. And also, heading into the match, they know how the reverse fixture went, beating Watford 5-0 at Vicarage Road. How much will that play on the players' minds as well heading into this one?
Yeah, I think it'll be a massive confidence boost. And also we know 2020 there was that massive upset that Watford managed to beat Liverpool at Vicarage Road. And I think people thought maybe that was going to happen again this season, and then they got smashed 5-0. So
Yeah.
I think they've kind of got that one-off kind of slip up out the way, Liverpool, and they won't be worried about that at all. Obviously, Watford were very low on confidence at that point. They were, you know, not far away from changing their manager and entering a little bit more of instability and chaos at the club. To credit to Roy Hodgson, he's done a really good job. You know, he's picked up, I think, just less than a point per game average in his time there. So he's done a lot with a poor team, so he deserves credit for that. But at the end of the day, when you look at Watford's defence, it's a championship level defence, it's a second tier level defence, and you can only do so much. They've had injuries as well to really key attacking players. But I mean, I was wondering what Wes and Leanne thought about that advantage, because obviously you're the former players. As players, having that earlier kick-off, would you be sitting back, feet up, feeling quite relaxed, or would you be stressed now thinking, you know, if you were playing the next day, what's that like as a player, having been in those positions where you might have had an earlier kick-off and be able to sort of set the tone?
I think for me, I would just kind of always take care of business in the way that I would know how. But I do think, you know, when playing and watching is two different things, right? But I would prefer to play first. That's just my opinion. I mean, probably scenes I remember is when Leicester won the league, you guys were waiting for a result, weren't they? And all those celebrations that happened. And that's obviously a different, you know, completely different entirety in itself. But for me personally, I would see it as a bit of an advantage playing early first.
Get out of the way.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it's definitely an advantage. And I think at this stage of the season now, it's crunch time, you know, and Liverpool will be smelling a bit of blood, I feel. And they know if they get this result, you know, and psychologically they are top of the table for however long it might be, it could be a bit of a key moment, I feel.
We saw just a moment ago, we saw the goals at Vicarage Road earlier in the season, that incredible one from Mo Salah, which is going down as one of the goals of the season, certainly. He obviously has just crashed out of the World Cup qualifiers, so he won't be playing in the World Cup come the end of the year. And we know when Mo Salah has moments like this in his career, he tends to come back even stronger, Leanne.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he only saw in the African Cup of Nations. He played, I think, 2 or 3 days later. You know, he's a winner and he wants to play and win at all costs. And, you know, it's probably a dangerous time. I think Mo Salah's been probably one of the best players in the Premier League for a few years now, not just this season and the year before, probably in the world. I know a lot of people say that's a really bold statement to make, but I think you've got to give credit where it's due. And that goal that he scored early in the season, he's done it twice. Which I think is against Norwich as well. Games, like the way he was manipulating the ball, you know, it's fantastic. So I would be frightened if I was Watford tomorrow.
How frightening would he be to play against then, Wes, as a defender?
Well, I faced him on a few occasions, you know. I keep him to the side to the other,
he's still in your pocket,
other younger defenders. But, you know, he's a constant threat, you know. And it's not often he's not on the top of his game. And we've seen some great moments on some of the VTs there that he can produce moments of magic out of anything. So, yeah, I think a reaction from Egypt not qualifying for the World Cup is not good for Watford. You know, he's going to want to, I don't know, make a point, definitely prove himself. And, yeah, it's going to be a great game to watch.
Where does he rank for you then in terms of toughest opposition you've faced?
It's got to be right up there. You know, his stats and numbers speak for itself. You know, him being wide, you know, it's not direct competition for me. You know, I don't often have to deal with him. You know, normally it's out and out number 9 forward I'm facing against. But, you know, when he's on the ball, yeah, everyone's on edge, especially when he's running at full speed. And you definitely have to double up on him. So, you know, he's ranked right at the top for me.
In terms of this contract that's pending, what do you think is going to happen, Flo? How important is it that they keep him?
Oh, massively important. I think Liverpool have been very good with their recruitment over the last couple of years. They've moved players on at the right times, and they've bought well. We've seen already the massive impact that Diaz has had in a short space of time. So I think it will depend on what Klopp's plans are, because we know that there's going to have to be a succession with him at some point. Don't think it's going to be coming in the next year or two, but I do think a lot of players will have loyalty to him and they'll want to know perhaps what he's doing before they make a decision. But I think they've been very smart when they've moved players on in the past, and he's got some good years ahead of him. But you don't want to leave it too late. So I think if he does sign a new contract, they don't want to make it too long. Mane as well is obviously a player coming towards the end of his best years. So I think they have to be smart about this, and it could be a good time to work out what the future plans are.
I think give him what he wants. Whatever Salah wants, for me, you just got to give it to him. I think the thing as well, he sees other players on a lot of money. You know, not all footballers are focused on money. It's about winning things and where the club's going. But I just think he's so formidable for Liverpool. And I sometimes think as well, the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah.
You know, he might go to like a Liverpool, to Real Madrid or a Barcelona, but are they better than Liverpool? I'm not quite sure. So it might be glamorous to go to those clubs, but for me, I don't think he's going to move on. Could be wrong, but...
Okay. How do you see this game for Watford, Leanne? Because up next, they've got Leeds and Brentford after the Liverpool match. Will they see this as a bit of a free hit, or is that not the right approach when you're fighting for survival? I
think Roy Hodgson is the king of this, isn't he? Knowing how to keep teams up. You know, when he took over at Crystal Palace from De Boer, they was on a no-win game streak at 7 games. So, you know, he's good with the lower teams. But I don't think Roy Hodgson's the type of manager that accepts defeat. He strikes me as somebody that's hungry. You know, he's only out of the game for about 6 months and he's been in the game for so many years. So I don't think he'll approach this game like they've already lost it. But I think defensively, he knows how to set his teams up. But as Flo said, you know, they are a championship team in their defence and in a lot of their players. You know, apart from Emmanuel, they don't really have Emmanuel Dennis, that they don't really have many players that can really win a game for them, do they? So I do think it'll be difficult, but I don't think Royal will throw in the towel before they've kicked the ball.
Yeah, one of the positives for Watford is that they should have Ismaila Sarr back for that match, so at least that'll be a boost for them.